keeping families healthy.
All right, now we can say, if you're ready, say, let's go. Let's go. Ah, some good energy in here. I like it. I like it. You guys here to learn? Yes. Good. So if we took a kind of a trip back to 1900, where the life expectancy was 41, and you told somebody that in 2024, actually the new number, the slide is updated compared to the one that I have up in the website right now, but that is the life expectancy today, 79.25. So if you took a time machine back to 1900, you told them that we'd be living about double the length, what type of comments do you think you'd get, or what type of thought process do you think you'd encounter? What do you think?
You're crazy.
Little disbelief? In just the last 40 years, we have today 3 times the amount of centenarians living today compared to, say, around 1980. Wow. By 2060, another 40 years, we'll have 7 times the amount of centenarians or people making to 100. So look at the change in that. And here's the thing. The question is what created that? Some kind of like mega healthcare breakthrough that created that? Stem cells? Like what did that? Like what did that? One person said vaccinations. Be careful with that one, right? Availability of food, hygiene, clean running water, good sanitation, better improvements in that category, in that realm, where it's really primarily attributed to, that doubling for the most part. So if it could be done just with that, would it be that hard to maybe double it again easily? I don't think so. So what I wanted to share with you is this. Oh, you guys remember that? Anybody here old enough? Captain Kirk I think, has found the fountain of youth. Have you guys seen him lately? In his 90s, sharp as a tack. There you go. So I'm going to show you a video of my dad at 83 taking his almost 17-year-old grandson out in an arm wrestling match. So I wanted to kind of inspire you there in the next video. But nonetheless, this is literally, I wanted to show you the, kind of the landscape of anti-aging today. And I'm going to kind of just go through it very quickly, but one of the things to realize that none of it really matters if you don't change lifestyle. So if you do any of these things or all of them, which again, no insurance covers, just so you know, they're very expensive. If you don't change the lifestyle component, if you keep eating fast food, a lot of fried foods, not getting adjusted, all the things that we know that are important positive lifestyle changes, if you don't do those, then these are just kind of flushed down the drain. If you 3D print a brand new organ, a brand new heart, a brand new liver, brand new kidneys, and you put that into an unhealthy body, what happens at that point? Yeah. Well, you really haven't accomplished much. And these things, by the way, none of them really, anything that's existing today is not really necessarily extending life. Nothing's been proven extended life. Maybe a hip surgery, you get a knee that's destroyed or a hip that's destroyed and you get it redone. Certainly that can improve your quality of life, may extend your life a little bit, but none of these things up here have proven at all to extend your life any significant amount, decades, certainly not a century. So some of these, like rapamycin, what this is shown to do is it's actually a drug that slows down the aging process. It repairs genes. It's a yeast. And what it does, the way it does that is it suppresses the immune system. Does that sound like a good idea? So you have, again, knee and hip surgery, shoulder surgeries, eye surgery. The technology is amazing with this stuff. My mother-in-law had her cataracts lasered out, perfect vision now. I mean, there's some really amazing technologies that are out there. So it's not to say like there's necessarily anything negative here, but it's just that it's not going to give you the next 40 or 50 years tacked onto your lifespan. This is another one, plasmapheresis. This actually, what they do here, for $100,000 out of pocket, they'll take your blood out, they'll kind of move it around, they'll do some UV lighting to it, they'll kind of filter it, clean it up a little bit, and put it back in your body. Bioidentical hormones, they're showing already there are some problems with those, but you have to come to the hormone masterclass to learn more about that. Ozone, that's another way, like they kind of fire off some highly concentrated oxygen into your blood, up to $1,000 a treatment. And again, nothing that's really shown to extend life or save your life. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, some good reports on that, but again, this is really expensive stuff. A lot of people out there are doing it, and there's been something, some benefit from it, but you're going to end up spending a lot of money and not having any lengthening of your life if that's what you're looking for with these technologies. And that's why I put them up here, because a lot of them are touted as life-extending technologies, and there's really not necessarily massive proof or any proof behind that. Stem cells, this is a tricky one. It's been shown to work, been shown to regenerate. There are only really, there are a lot of centers that are doing stem cells. Have you guys heard of this before? A lot of centers out there. The one caveat I always put out, and one warning I am emphatic with, is whatever you do, don't go to a chiropractic office for stem cells, okay? There was years ago, I think they're still doing it up the road. There was several chiropractors who are doing it who are no longer doing it, charging $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to do it. And there's only, from my research, finding out there's only about 3 or 4 centers around the world that are legitimate centers, that when you go there and you get it, it's actually going to do something in your body. For the most part, most of it's garbage out there. It's junk, and it's a long way off. Like most of the stuff is 50 to 100 years off from really working effectively and certainly extending your life. Exosomes and peptides, these kind of are somewhat under the category of the stem cells. And again, this stuff's really expensive. And a lot of people go to the wrong place for it, and they end up flushing down the toilet a lot of money. I had a patient years ago who he went for his hip. And he went up the road, went to a chiropractic office, spent $17,000 cash to have it injected in his hip. And he ended up having to get a hip surgery. So when it comes to stuff, I'm very skeptical, because I don't want to see patients waste a lot of time, energy, and money on this. Again, 3D printing organs, I pray that works someday, but right now it's so far off. They're printing like skin grafting, they're printing skin, which helps burn victims, and there are certain sectors where that's working really well. But in terms of like putting a brand new heart, like going into like an automotive shop, putting you up on the lift and taking the organs out and putting 3, I'll be back in a moment, I'm going to print your organs over here, put them in, and then drive on. That Star Trek stuff's not happening anytime soon, at least not within this century. Nanobots, having these little robots that are injected in your blood that float around and do construction, like pull plaques off your arteries, repair your heart. Sounds like a bad idea. I don't know if I don't care how desperate I become. I'm not quite sure about robots floating through my bloodstream. I just don't trust it. So again, all kind of neat stuff. This is the Dr. McCoy medical scanner, the AI quantum computing, where they just kind of, you go into the doctor's office, they run the thing over you, and they can tell like in a moment exactly what's wrong with you, exactly which drug you need, or exactly which organ you need taken out. Again, this stuff is Star Trek stuff. Genome editing, going in there and like clipping off the bad genes. That's a $1 to $2 million per dose. No insurance. And again, this is the cutting edge stuff out there that really only the elite can afford. And even at that, the stuff is not even proven. Again, CAR T cell therapy. This is like the avant-garde, the tip of the spear stuff out there in terms of cancer treatments. About $500,000 per treatment, and this is shown to be a failure about half the time because it doesn't kill off hard cancers, hard cell cancers. It's just in its infancy right now, but it's showing some promise. But it's going to take decades to really perfect it or get it to the market where it's really helping a large amount of people. But it's a living drug, crafted from patients' own tissue to treat their cancer. It's immunotherapy. And senolytics, so what these are supplements or drugs. Metformin is a drug, that's one of them, that severely suppresses blood sugar and insulin. Berberine is its analog, basically, which we have in our supplements, which can go head-to-head with it, which control blood sugar. Blood sugar metabolically, which you're going to learn a lot about tonight, it is the #1 biochemical ager of the body. blood sugar. You have to manage it. You have to manage it not just through looking at fasting blood glucose and insulin, or fasting blood glucose and hemoglobin A1C, but the third more important one is insulin. So again, when you get a blood panel back, you want to look at fasting blood glucose, hemoglobin A1C, but mainly insulin, which is almost always left off the panel. And so it is the number one driver of aging metabolically, uncontrolled glucose regulation. So super, super important. And we're going to talk about ways that can be controlled later on, but berberine is a great supplement to help with that. Resveratrol, ginseng for the brain. Quercetin is a viral killer. It supports the immune system and just supports the body overall. And NAD, niacinamide. That's a phenomenal one. It actually helps in ATP production. It helps rejuvenate cells. So we're going to jump into some more of this stuff later, but I want to kind of show you the horizon, what's out there. And some of the technology, in my estimation, will never work. It's all pie in the sky. Some of it may end up helping quite a bit at some point, but it's a long way off. But again, the take-home message is this. Unless you shift lifestyle, none of it's going to work. So get some stem cells shot into your body, or do any of these, get your blood taken out, put it back in. But if you're, wrecking your diet, you're not sleeping at all, you're sleep deprived, you're not moving your body, you're sitting all day, you're smoking, you have an inverted lifestyle, you're completely negating any of the stuff if any or all of it actually worked today. So again, even your surgeries, replace a joint, and then keep living an inverted toxic lifestyle. What's going to happen very soon? You're going to need another replacement, because your body needs to be metabolically healthy to take that surgery, to take that replacement. So very, very important stuff. There's my dad, Sid Yachter. There's Josh, by the way, who's here. Josh, go ahead and stand up. I wanted us to introduce him. Dr. Josh Yachter, second-generation chiropractor, my nephew. And he's up here taking the boards. He's going to be taking the test on June 21st to get licensed in the state. He's already left school to work in my brother's office, Elevation Health Plantation, and we're very, very proud of him, excited for him, and he's going to be a phenomenal chiropractor, and he's here to take lots of notes. After a full day of studying and cramming for the boards, he's here, so I'm impressed with his efforts, but we're excited for him. My brother, he's got 3 boys. There's Gavin and Leon, who's not in the picture. Josh is the oldest. We were praying for at least one of the boys to become a chiropractor, and hopefully the other 2 will follow suit. But we got one out of school, rolling off the assembly line here. So excited. But there's my dad. There's Gavin. Gavin's going to be turning 17 soon. Arm wrestling. My dad is 83, and my dad makes very quick work out of him. You'll see that in a moment. Gav's a big guy. He's about 6'5" now? 6'6". Wow. And my dad took him out. So there's hope. There's hope for all. 83 years old, strong, healthy, lives the chiropractic lifestyle, gets adjusted every week for over 30 years. You guys know the story behind my dad. He's healthier than ever. He follows everything we do, comes to the master, goes to my brother's master classes. My brother's doing the anti-aging master class, same workshop right now in Plantation, in his office. So little inspiration there. So this is the Mount Everest that we're going to climb, the 100-year lifestyle up here. We have 10 steps that we're going to bring you through tonight. Purpose, testing, spinal hygiene, sleep, ideal weight, supplements or supplement, diet, exercise, sauna, and constant and never-ending improvement is what you guys are doing tonight. Learning and growing, getting equipped, elevating your knowledge base, moving forward. And one of the things that I want to bring up, Sir Edmund Hillary, he was the first one to summit. In 1953, he was the first one to summit Mount Everest. And before then, no one could get up there. But him and his Sherpa, him and his guide, got up there, May of 1953. And following that, there were, kind of like when the 4-minute mile was broken, there were hundreds and thousands of people who then attempted to get to the summit. And for years, there were just tons of failures, tons of deaths. And it wasn't until over maybe the last 30 years that there was this radical increase in the amount of success of the climbers. And there were a handful of things that were attributed to this radical jump in terms of the people who are making it to the top, who are summiting, the ones who are not just getting up there, but doing it, a lot easier than the ones before. There was number one, technology has improved dramatically. Weather prediction, weather technology. So that's important, yes? So that'll help you get to the top much faster. Technology. Second thing was the Sherpas are the guides. They got a lot better. They got a lot smarter, a lot sharper, more skilled. They had a little more technology. Their gear got better. The gear for the climbers got better. The training, the preparation, the physiological preparation, teaching the climbers what to do for months before they got to the mountain. So there's like a program. And the other major thing, believe it or not, was in the most dangerous, deadly parts, mainly up here, but really all throughout the mountain, they started putting cables in, and so the climbers could hook to the cables as they were climbing, so they wouldn't slip off the mountain and plummet to their death. So that kind of got a lot more climbers to the top and reduced the death rate. So that would be kind of like a very obvious thing to do, right? Like hundreds of years ago, they in the hospitals, Dr. Semmelweis said, this is not good. You guys are going from the morgue, the basement of the hospital, then you doctors are going up to the top floor and delivering the babies. And then you're going back down to the morgue and you're not washing your hands. This is not good. You guys ever hear Dr. Semmelweis, right? So this guy was shunned. He was an outcast. He was a pariah. For like 100 years, they told him he was a lunatic. They institutionalized him. And then they finally realized, yeah, probably a good idea to wash your hands from going to touch cadavers to delivering babies. It's like obvious things. Put the cables up, hook the climbers on so they don't slip off the mountain and die. Probably a good thing. And there's a lot of things like that in healthcare now that have been discovered that can radically increase your odds of making it to the top or summiting to that 100-year lifestyle, that 3-digit club, that centenarian club that I want to go to, that many of you guys want to be in, yes? Right? So there are ways to get there. And, purpose is where we start. You have to have a strong drive. You have to have a strong why behind getting there. There are patients who I speak to who are under care. They've invested in their chiropractic care. They're here getting adjusted regularly. And I'll ask them the question, or I'll say at the end of one care plan, I'll say, hey, we're getting ready to begin the next plan. Maybe they're 50 years old. And I'll say, we're going to go ahead and put together your wellness plan for the next 50 years. What do you think? I'll say, are you in? And some people will say, yes. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but I'm in. Sign me up. And then I'll have other patients who say, heavens no. I do not want to live to 100. Please, don't give me that adjustment. Or they'll say, no. I'll say, well, which plan do you want? I mean, I could put like 2. You want 2 years? The 6-month one? You want the abridged? I could put anything you want together. But I can tell you one thing. Those people are not making it to 100. And if they do, it's going to be by some freakish thing that happens. The Sherpa puts them on their back and climbs them, or they take an elevator to the top. Something freakish happens. But statistically, they're not going to make it. The ones who will, at least they'll start with the right attitude. And even if they seem that it's improbable, because most of the climbers who get here probably look to the summit, and if they did think before they were going to make it, there's probably a lot of doubt. They're probably looking at it like thinking, wow, 30,000 feet, that's a lot higher than I thought. And that's a big mountain to climb right there. So you got to start with purpose or strong why. And we're going to kind of take a moment here for just a few minutes, and I'm going to actually have you guys kind of just evaluate that and think it through for a moment, like the top 3, 4, 5 reasons, major whys that are going to drive you to the top. And I know for me, my big whys drive me every day. I have a purpose. I have multiple purposes. I remember going back as far back to, it was Josh's great-grandmother, my great-grandmother, and Grandma Ruthie. She brought me, I was about 9 years old, about 10 years old, Dania, Florida. She said, get in the car. We're going to visit my great-grandmother, whose last name was Atlas, believe it or not. And so we went to visit Bubby in this nursing home. And I remember pulling up, and again, I was probably somewhere between 8 or 10 years old. I got exactly, but I remember walking in, and this was a very impactful experience for me. I remember walking back then, these nursing homes were bad. Everybody in there was badly neglected. I remember walking in and the smell hit my nostrils, the urine stench, it was horrible. And then I remember hearing, and it's as real today as it was then, I could hear it and I could see it and smell it. I remember hearing screaming from the rooms. It was awful. It's like literally walking through hell. And then I remember getting to the end of the hallway. It seemed like this hallway seemed like eternity, and getting to the end, and there was my great-grandmother sitting there in a chair, snow on this TV, almost like she had been sitting there neglected for about a week, crippled up, rheumatoid arthritis, drooling on herself, probably hadn't been bathed or fed for a week. It was an awful scene, and it hit me hard. And I remember thinking in my mind, that will never be me. And it may, possibly could have been an unrealistic thought, but I said, and I made the decision at that point, that will never happen to me. Not only was it painful to see, but I said, I don't want to go out like that. That's not where I want to land toward the end of my life. And then I saw a lot of other sickness. My grandfather with Parkinson's, my other grandfather, basically for the first 10 years of my life, right before I was born, had a massive stroke. And for the first 10 years I was alive, 6 heart attacks, 6 strokes. So 0 quality of life. I remember seeing that, how painful it was to watch that, and just a lot of sickness and illness. And then I grew up very ill and sick, always having lung infections and being on a lot of medications. And I remember just feeling horrible and always thinking to myself, I just want to get out of this. I'll do anything not to live sick and not to feel this way. And that was my driver early on, my big why. And then, of course, seeing what happened to my dad and getting a purpose in chiropractic as a healer, as I feel as an ordained healer, my love for chiropractic and seeing people well drives me every day. I never want to miss a day, ever here. I want to be here. I want to help patients. And that drives me to be meticulous with my health. I wake up every day driving into my health habits to make sure I can show up to be my best, energized physically, mentally, doing my best for my patients at all times. My major purpose, I have a young family, I have small kids. I want to be everything I can for them. I want to show up physically, mentally, present. Josh will tell you from being here for the last several days, coming home from his review, his cousins have a lot of energy. They're not done with him yet. When he gets home, they want to go and play, and they have a lot of energy. And I've got that every day. When I come home, I want to have energy to keep up with them, especially mentally, and I want to be there for them, not just now, but my youngest is 7, and I'm going to turn 53. So that means that, I got to stay healthy if I'm going to experience a good amount of his growing up and his time, really developing, and I want to be part of that for all 3 of my kids. And when I think about it, turning 53 soon, if I want to hit 100, that's what? How many years away? 47. That's 47 years away. Is that a long time? It's not really a long time, 47 years. The first 52 went by like nothing. Like evaporated, like a mist. So I can only imagine how fast the 47 years are going to go. But again, there's got to be a strong driver or drivers or a why. Got to be something passionate that gets you up and going and moving. What are you living for? Why do you want to go another 47 years or another 50, 60, 70 years? So again, we're going to go through all of these and understand why each one of these are not only very important, but sure, could there have been a lot more that could have gone on here? Could there have been 20, 100 steps? Sure. But what I've found through all the years of research, these really tend to be the most scientifically documented, researched, and have really kind of stood the test of time in terms of life extension. So what we're going to do is we're going to take maybe 3 minutes. So what I'd like you guys to do is if you have either pen, pencil, paper, or electronics, just take 3 minutes maybe, 4 or 5 minutes. I want you to write down your top 5 big whys, your reasons for summiting. When it gets real cold, you're frostbitten, you don't feel like moving forward, the temperature drops 20 degrees on you, you don't feel like moving forward, like the climbers. What is it that's going to push you and propel you to continue on your health journey, your health quest, your longevity quest? What is it going to be? So go ahead and take a few minutes and write that down. You may know it in your head, but it is profound when you write it down. There's magic in writing it down. Has anybody heard that before? Right? It's powerful. It's a powerful declaration, that kinesthetic neurological effect when you actually scribble. How do you want to show up at 100? Quality and quantity, right? We always say chiropractic adds years to life and life to years. You want to have quantity and quality. You want to not just get there physically, but you want to bring your brain with you. You want to have mental health as well. So write down the top 3 or 5. What are the things you want to do, places you want to go, the people you want to be with, the graduations you want to attend, the grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids? No. Just one more minute, guys. Got a whole bunch of golf courses you want to play that you'll have to live to 100 to play them all. Oh, no. No retirement for me. I'm going to be, only way I'm going to retire is going to be right over a table, adjusting table. Just slump over. I guess he's done. Dr. Dan's clocking out. That's actually how I want to go. Right over an adjusting table. Yeah, that would be ideal. Just not over any of you guys, right? You want to beat your great-great-grandkids in arm wrestling at the age of 100? Yeah. Right? All right, so 3 shares. Does anybody want to share? 1, 2, 3? Just few shares? What do you guys got?
Help people.
Help people.
Keep up with the grandkids.
It's awesome.
I was very fortunate
Thank you.
to live in an upstairs flat with my grandparents downstairs, and I realized what a great influence he was at my youth. And if I can be that way to my grandkids.
Yeah. Pay forward that gift, right? All right. How much fun that would be, paying forward that knowledge and wisdom, right?
I'm looking forward to my great-grandkids.
What's that?
I'm looking forward to my great-grandkids.
Awesome. Fantastic. I like that one. Yes. Awesome. Mission trips, just serving the call that he's got on our life, right? That's awesome. Yes.
Taking care of family, friends, and animals.
I love it. Thank you, Tristan. That is awesome. Fantastic.
Climb trees.
Climb trees at 100? Okay. Well, here's what we know. There are guidepost harbingers, as we call them, along the way. So, and by the way, whatever you wrote there, make sure it doesn't get put away. Keep it in front of you. When you go home, find a place for it. Maybe on your phone it pops up every now and then. Don't lose those. They're important. What you guys just wrote down, those are important. So we know that there are these guideposts along the way, just like when you're going up to the summit there and you're climbing, that'll tell you, not 100%, but to a great degree, whether you're headed in the right direction or not, whether you're going off the cliff or not. So there's different technology. Of course, we know there's spinal x-rays. I know the condition health of your spine, thermal EMG scans, heart rate variability, which is what we do here. Heart rate variability is an incredibly important diagnostic. That's why we have it here. That's that scan with the colors on it and your dots in the middle where we want it. That's where we check on it. That's showing how well your body can adapt to stress, physical, emotional, chemical stressors, how resilient your body is to weathering the storm. Hormones, these are the different tests. We do these in the office. Blood and Dutch cortisol, LDL, HDL. These are the three ratios that you want to look at when you have a blood panel, cholesterol-wise. Total cholesterol does not tell you what's going on with your cholesterol. You need to make sure that you're looking at these ratios, LDL over HDL, triglyceride over HDL, and total cholesterol over HDL. How many of you guys are already aware of these ratios? So, when your doctor looks at one number, at the total cholesterol, and they say it's 220, 230, 240, 260, you need a cholesterol medication. Before you go down that road, if I've not helped you with this yet, make sure that they put these ratios, have them put them down on the paper. And those ratios, they need to fall in a certain place. And if they do, you're fine, regardless of your total cholesterol. Regardless of your what? Total cholesterol. You got a lot of patients in here who are armed and dangerous and who intimidate their doctors. And that's a good thing, because they're not going to pull anything over on you guys. You want this information. That's why you want to keep learning and growing and come to the master classes. As I always say, at the end of a full cycle of these master classes, you will possess encyclopedic knowledge as to how to guide and steward your health, how to be an advocate for your health. So the doctor tells you something, you can have a knowledge base to process it and maybe ask better questions. Blood pressure. These are inflammatory markers, CRP, C-reactive protein, homocysteine, interleukin-6. These are things, we do all of these in the office. Insulin, glucose, triglycerides. Triglycerides is a reflection of your glucose management, your blood sugar management. So glucose, blood sugar, mainly insulin, is the #1 metabolic predictor of your aging rate. Metabolic, biochemical predictor. The more muscle mass you have and keep as you age, the less of an issue that is. The reason why, muscle is a sugar metabolizer. You maintain muscle mass is why it's important to do resistance training, because the muscle will gobble up the sugar out of the bloodstream much more readily than if you don't have that muscle mass. Not as much of an issue. And because of that, you tend to age better, slower. Vitamin D, omega-3 index. We do these tests in the office. We're going to talk more about that later. Complete thyroid panel. These are more kind of exotic tests that we do at the office, the DNA testing, toxicity, metal testing. We do all of these at the office. Food allergy testing is very important because, sure, there's a general dietary framework, which many of you guys are familiar with. Talk about the Mediterranean diet a lot. But for one person, an avocado may be fine. For another person, it may be an anaphylactic producing event. So food allergy can be very important. Food allergy testing to really figure out what exactly does that individual body need. Stool microbiome, GI mapping, we could do that all here to really look at what's going on inside of the gut. Cardiovascular, and this is very granular, particular viewing of the cholesterol or blood lipid profile in the bloodstream, really getting granular. Not necessary most of the time, but some patients who are at higher risk, we sometimes run that NMR, which is a very, again, granular way of looking at LDL and the small damaging, threatening particles in the bloodstream. CMP, your basic metabolic panel or the comprehensive metabolic panel, that's what you do when you go for your yearly physical, the general blood work, along with your immune system. CBC, complete blood count, white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. Take a look at those. CD4, CD8, that's a good ratio to look at, typically not run in your standard blood panel, but it can show you if your immune system's out of balance. They typically only run this on AIDS patients or cancer patients, but it should be run on really just about anybody to really understand and predict the, current and future health of the immune system and your body's ability to defend itself. It's called immunescence. Immunescence is basically the aging of the immune system. You can get a very accurate snapshot of whether or not your immune system is aging slowly or quickly by getting that ratio. Another blood draw that we do at the office. Brain neurotransmitters, no, we do not do EKG, Doppler ultrasound at this office, but it can be life-saving in many cases. I will eventually be doing, I've had an EKG, I've had a couple of them before for life insurance. Eventually I will do ultrasound on my arteries because I have a very strong family history of clogged arteries. So at some point I want to take a look at them. The way my lifestyle is right now, I highly doubt that there's any issue with my arteries. The way my blood pressure is, I do blood draws. That's why I'm kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit. But eventually I'll do that because of my family history. I really want to see what's going on. But ultrasound can be very valuable in a lot of different scenarios. Dermatological evaluation, could that be important? Which state do we live in? Okay, so the key with all these tests is this. It's not just doing the test, doing the right testing, because there's a lot to do. So it's figuring out with the right Sherpa or guide or doctor, when I sit down with a patient, I don't say, oh yeah, you need the whole thing. You need the whole menu. That doesn't make any sense, right? So we figure out where's that patient at, what are their immediate needs, and then as time goes on, build out a strategy. Does that make sense? What are the basics we need to start with? This is a good idea, but again, it's not just doing the right testing, it's when you get that information, having it interpreted properly. What happens if you get a panel come back, your total cholesterol is at 220, 240, you're definitely going to get a medication recommendation. But all of your ratios are stellar. Over here, they put you on that medication because you're fearful. They say, if you don't go on this medication, you're going to die. They told a patient last week, they told one of my patients this. 56 years old. She's freaking out because her cholesterol is 220. Living a healthy lifestyle, lean, getting adjusted. I'm like, did they really tell you that? She said, yeah, my doctor just told me that I'm going to die if I don't go on the medication. Well, the ratios are fine. I did them on the spot. And now they're going to put her on Repatha. Does anybody here know what that medication is? So it's a cholesterol, it's a statin medication on steroids, where they give you an injection and it radically drops your cholesterol level down like to 50 or 60 or 70. I had a patient die from it probably about 13, 14 years ago. He brought me in his panel. He said, what do you think of this? And his total cholesterol was at 50. I said, you're in trouble. This is crazy. And he ended up, because of the drug, he passed out, hit his head, and he died. So again, that medication that you didn't need, or multiple medications, could have caused all these side effects, maybe ended your life where you didn't need it. So again, the right interpretation, the right testing, the right Sherpa, the right guide, the right interpretation. Because maybe you never needed that medication. Maybe you never needed that procedure. How you look at those numbers is critical. Yes?
The right motive of the doctor.
The right motive. You know what I care more about? I care much more about than just getting patients healthy. That's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate objective, my professional goal, is keeping patients healthy. That's what I want to do. That's my long-range goal. I know as time goes on, if you follow the recommendation, you're going to have a radical improvement in your health. But I want to get you there, but keep you there, more importantly. And this is huge. So again, you get this back. I got patients coming back. I don't know if I'm not a dermatologist, whether they need it or not. They just had like 50 things dug out of their bodies. I don't know. I don't know much about dermatology really, but it seems like a little excessive to me, some of the dermatologists doing that. So you just have to you have to ask questions. You have to understand how to use these tests properly, all of them. You get one of these tests done, you get a hormone test done, and you're in front of a doctor, or in front of me, and I say, you need these 50 things to address your hormones. You think you may want to question that, even if it's me? What do you think? You should. You want to ask questions about the test, the results, and the plan that doctor has for you. My testosterone's a little off. What are you going to do? Well, we have this buckshot that we shoot in your behind, and we inject testosterone or estrogen pellets That's, by the way, that's the cutting edge technology. And then we'll look at your blood work in about a year to see how that's going. I don't know about you, seems like a bad idea. So you want to question these things. Just because you have something off balance, what does it really mean? What is your body trying to tell you? What do you need to help regain balance? And once you have balance, what's the plan from there? So again, DEXA scan, sit and rise test, that's a longevity test. That's actually a very interesting test showing that you sit down on your behind and you should be able to, like a child, babies or small kids can get up, right? Okay, I need a hand. Okay, now, whether you can do it without a hand or one hand, compared to the people who need both hands and knees to get off, in the studies they do with the sit-stand test, those people die 4 times faster. In fact, the number is 4 to 6 times faster. What does that have to do with flexibility, range of motion? It's really important. Yes, chiropractic has a part to play in that, but there are other things that you want to be doing. I'm a strong advocate of massage therapy. You want to be stretching, range of motion. Really important to make sure that you're not losing that childlike flexibility. Maybe yoga. So DEXA scan bones, you have to understand how to interpret this one as well. Because they're comparing your bones against a 25 or 30-year-old. Did you know that? Nobody's bones stay like that hard when they're 90. There's some change. So when those come back, realize what it's being compared to, and you have to watch trends as time is going on. And then, if you are losing bone mass, and you have the wrong Sherpa interpreting that DEXA scan, the bone scan, what are they going to tell you? You need which drug? Fosamax, or the injectables now. And the way these bone drugs work, normally there are in the bone, and I know, Josh, you know this very well because you're preparing for your boards right now, osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Osteoblasts are cells that build bone inside of the bone. Osteoclasts destroy old bone, get it out. So the way the medications work is they stop basically the osteoclasts from breaking down the old bone. So now you're left with bones that become what? Brittle. So they're more dense on the test, but they're more brittle. And when you fall, guess what? Yeah, you're toast. No one cause of death over the age of 70 are falls. Not cancer or heart disease, but falls. So again, you have to know how to interpret it. And then when you do interpret it, what do? What can strengthen the bones? That's a good one too, yes. We're going to talk about that, right?
If I could just add a good point to that. I was coming from those chiropractic board reviews. They said if you ever see a patient that used Fosamax in the past, to assume that they have a fracture. Wow. Just some fracture before. They said that to help us to support.
And proceed with caution. Yeah. Because if they bring that up during your testing and you don't bring that up, then you don't get a license, right? So very important. Grail, this is another one. This is one that's on the market. This is available to the public. The Gallery or the Grail test, you can order this. It actually looks for 50 different cancers in your body. Right test, right Sherpa. Here's why. I have cancer in my body right now. Guess who else has cancer in their body? Up to 10,000 cancer cells are grown every single day. The immune system is working well. Autophagy is working well. Your body's getting rid of the bad senescent cells. So again, not bad information to get, but do you think most people, if they get that test back and maybe 3 or 4 positive things are on there, you think they're going to freak out a little bit? They are. They're going to freak out big time. That's just how we react to tests. One of the first things I do, if I'm sitting down with you with a panel in front of me and we're talking about it, one of the first things I try to do is create a calm environment so we can talk about the markers, because we're not going to accomplish anything if the patient's all worked up and fearful about it, because that's what medicine does. So again, we have to understand what these things mean. They're not bad, they're not evil. Really what it is, they're useful tools, but they have to be interpreted properly. And these are great. These are your Oura Rings, Apple Watch, Fitbit, your biohacking technologies, they call them, where you can basically cull very useful information from the body, how many steps you're getting, how you're sleeping, your REM, very important stuff, But again, right testing, right doctor, and that's what we do in here. We do a lot of testing above and beyond adjusting, and that's what I do with patients. All week long, all months long, we sit down, we go over your panels, and we carve out strategies. And if it is pressing, if there are fire alarms going off, I will tell patients that. And we will seek some additional care. I'll reach out to the medical doctor, try to work in collaboration with them so that patient is cared for properly. And it's very important when you go that medical route that the doctor, the PA that you're working with understands your health philosophy, understands your health goals, understands your mindset. Because everybody sitting in here, don't we have a different philosophical health philosophy or philosophical mindset than the general population? What do you think? Oh, yeah. If that wasn't the case, you wouldn't be here getting adjusted. You have to have a different health mindset to embrace chiropractic, the lifestyle. So very important that the medical physicians, the medical side of things, the people you are working with, you will be working with, they understand who you are, what your vision is. If they have you on medications right now, that they understand that one of your goals is to maybe be medication free. Will you help me do this? Have these conversations with your medical doctors. Because I can't take you off medications. I can help guide and lead you. I can be a Sherpa, but I can't sit there and say, get on this one medication, get off this medication. That's not a conversation that at least I'm legally allowed to have. Number 3, spinal hygiene. Is that important, spinal hygiene? In general, there is a correlation in body structure health and your lifespan. That was from the Journal of the American Medical Association all the way back in 1957. I thought chiropractic was only for neck or back pain. Well, it's important if you want to live a long, healthy life, right? So you guys already know, so I'm going to go through this quickly. You guys already know that the spine is the foundation of all health and healing in the human body. You need a healthy structure, a plumb line structure ideally in the side, for the brain to send energy, communication, life, repair into the body. You guys know it's as simple as that. These vertebrae are out of alignment, jars, jolts, impacts, as I call them, micro and macro traumas throughout life, can subluxate the spine. They get knocked out of alignment. When they get locked and there's a threat to the neurology, the innate wisdom of the body comes to the rescue by trying to put calcium, osteophytes, bone spurs in the area to stabilize the area. That's how that stuff, that crud, grows on the spine, anywhere on the spine. So again, really important to understand that this is optional. Gravity winning is optional. Gravity doesn't have to win if we're diligent. 3 different ways we must be diligent with our spine. Number 1, adjustments, but that's just the brushing. What's the other component we talk about at home? The flossing, the home protocols, but it's also an awareness. What are we doing throughout the day with our spines? I have to constantly remind myself of my position because I'm like this 10 hours a day. So if I'm like not hyper vigilant with my posture and my home protocols and my adjustments, by the time I hit 60, I'll be the hunchback of Notre Dame, right? So you've got to really pay attention to these things because 2 things happen. If you're letting gravity win, 1, mechanically, you have a heart and lungs, heart, organs, a lot of stuff in here. So you're just putting a mechanical pressure, decreasing the volume, the space in which those organs can work properly. Does that make sense? Then, of course, you're creating a strain tension on the cord, which is disturbing the energy flow, the neurological flow through the body. So you guys already understand that. The number 1 exercise you can do at home, the number 1, say isometric, and that's what this study has to do with. In this study, what they did is they looked at people, this standing wall occiput test. And I know you guys can't see from over there, I'm blocking some folks out, but basically what it is, and I've showed some of you guys this, you go against the wall with your heels, your butt, your back, shoulder blades, palms out. And when I have patients do this, they do this. I say, put your head back. Try to touch the back of your head to the wall. 90% of patients, in the beginning at least, they'll do this. So the standing wall occiput test, which is what this research is like a cadet. You translate, slide back. You try doing that, tucking your chin back. It's a little hard. And for some, they can't do it more than a second or two. So it's really important as you age, use that as a yardstick to make sure that your spine is holding the right alignment, checking your plumb line posture. Again, not this, because what will happen as you age, if your spine's doing this, there's a reflex that automatically puts your neck like that. So if I take an x-ray of an 80-year-old neck, they get a perfect curve in their neck. But what's the problem? Their body's in Florida, but their neck and head is in Texas, right? So that's the problem. You know, we need them over here, right? So they cannot do this. So what the study showed is once you develop the normal kyphosis here, 50, you don't want to go past 60 degrees of kyphosis. The study here that I just flashed up showed that once you went beyond 60 degrees, 60 to 70, your mortality rate accelerated. The odds that you're going to die 1.5 times faster than the general population. 70 to 80 degree kyphosis, you're looking at 3 times, 300% greater rate or risk of dying over the general population. Over 80, it's like 4 or 5 times. You're going to die 4 or 5 times faster than your neighbor. So I've shared that research with some patients, or I've kind of just mentioned it on the fly. One patient said, so what do you say, like, am I going to die because my back is like this? Is that what you're saying? Not really, but I mean, the research says it, but you're going to die faster. But the only time I'd really bring this up is to inspire or encourage you to just pay attention to this. That's all. Make sure every now and then you're checking in on this standing wall occiput test, that you can stand flat, flush up against the wall, and you can keep your chin level, horizontal, bringing your skull straight back. And if you can't do it yet, if you work on it daily, no matter what your age, you'll eventually get there. You'll train your spine back, and that'll change everything. Because again, we're talking about communication. We're talking about energy getting through that spinal cord in your body. Sitting kills, moving heals. You guys ever heard of this book? Have you ever heard of people maybe online or lectures, they talk about sitting for an hour is equivalent to smoking 2 cigarettes, or the other way around, sitting for 2 hours is equivalent to smoking 1 cigarette, whatever. You guys heard that? Well, this lady was involved with a lot of that research. She worked at NASA as their main physiology medical scientist. She would evaluate all the astronauts before they went into space and when they came back. So over years, decades, she had substantial data, research. Joan Vernikis, brilliant woman, former director of NASA's Life Science Division, a physiologist, and she says not only does sitting kill, but if you're someone who goes to the gym in the morning, you work out for an hour, and then you go to a job and you're sedentary for 8 hours in front of a computer, you've entirely negated the physiological benefits of what you did that morning. Does that make sense? So I get it. Sometimes we have to be stationary. We got to get things done. But at my house, I set a timer. On the hour I get up, I move around if I can. If I'm on a call, I get moving as much as I can. But I always at least set a timer for an hour. I don't want to sit any longer than that because even with a good spine, if I go beyond an hour, I start aching. My body starts aching. I can feel it. Doesn't feel good. So really paying attention to it. Another thing, too, I think there's a conspiracy. I really believe that chiropractors engineered and developed and produced the first lazy boy chair because it's so destructive and damaging to the spine. Now, you'll be able to pick these people out in a big crowd, the ones who are plopping on one of these, 5 hours a night, because when they walk to the door, next time you see one of these people, you'll know who they are, because how do they walk in? They walk in like they still have, when I was growing up, it's called the clicker, My dad's like, who hit the clicker? Where's the clicker? He'll come into the TV room, right? We don't have clickers anymore. Some of you guys are too young, you don't even know what a clicker is. But that's it looks like they're walking through the, they're literally walking like that, right? That's not good. It's not good. They've lost their range of motion. And of course, again, you have the lifeline in there. So if you have a lazy boy, go home and throw it away. No, just kidding. Just give it to your neighbor. If you don't like someone in the community, give it to them. Donate it. Just Or at a bare minimum, minimize your time that you're sitting in a lazy boy chair. Bad, really bad. How about that? Is that good? Listen, I'm just here to be a good Sherpa, right? You guys get this? So can I share? Can I kind of shoot straight with you guys? If you're doing this, I know nobody here is doing this, so it's because it's the ones that don't come to the master classes that do this. You're sitting there waiting for your adjustment, and you're like this. Or when I walk into the adjusting room, how do you want to be when I walk in the adjusting room, ideally, if you can? Ideally, you want to be out of gravity, right? Relaxed. But I'm going to say, like this, they're sitting on the adjusting table, like, don't you want a good adjustment? Don't you want to be relaxed, right? So nonetheless, listen, it's not a game of perfect. You may catch me somewhere out and about doing that. I try my best, you just try your best, right? Just hold it up, get your knees up if you need to. My kids are now doing it to me. I've been haunting my kids. I've been badgering them for 12 years now. And now they've turned it on me. They're like, hey, Dad, get your head up. They're like, my kids are all over me. They're like, you told us. What are you doing? I'm like, Because sometimes they'll catch me doing that. Not very often. But look at that. They're creating a pelvic sacral problem. Look how awful that is. And again, it's also frustrating to me as a clinician because these patients sometimes never heal. Can you guess why? They're coming in mid-back pain, all kinds of issues. So where do you gain this awareness? The master classes. Keep coming, growing, learning, so you can really squeeze everything you can out of the chiropractic lemon, all the juice. Not good. Your problems will persist. And again, at future master classes, we don't have time to cover it all, but we'll cover a lot more pertaining to how to keep the spine healthy. In 2005, a landmark study published in the Journal of Vertebral, what is that word? Subluxation, found evidence that chiropractic care can reduce oxidative stress in the body. In other words, slow down the aging process. Yes, there is research showing that chiropractic adjustments slow down the aging process. 99% of the community still thinks you only go to a chiropractor when? Yeah. Oxidative stress damages all body cells, components, proteins, lipids, DNA. Oxidative stress, basically it's rusting, biological rusting, biochemical rusting. It's inflammation. It plays a role in all these diseases. Serum thiol levels. Serum thiol is basically found when DNA is being repaired. It's a chemical protein enzyme that's present when DNA is repaired. And they've actually shown it could be used to measure aging and disease status. And it's shown when these people in this study were getting adjusted, serum thiol went up, which is a surrogate marker for DNA repair, which means you're anti-aging. Substantiating research. How many of you guys started care here, like came here specifically because you said to yourself, you know what, I heard chiropractic care can slow down the aging process. Maybe I'll become a patient of Yactor's. Was that what you were thinking? Nobody was thinking that, right? Unfortunately, sadly enough. So again, going through life we experience physical, emotional, chemical stressors. It's up to our nervous system to adapt to those stressors. We use a lot of studies to look at that, including heart rate variability. But these disturbances in nerve function could affect oxidative stress and DNA repair on a cellular level. Chiropractic care improves the body's ability to adapt to stress. It improves the body's ability to respond to the stress by elevating serum thiol. How cool is that? Pretty neat, right? So, study 311 chiropractic patients ages 65 and older who received maintenance care for 5 years or longer. Is it important to get adjusted, not just short term, but long term?
Yes, absolutely.
Or you just get adjusted for a few months, quit, a year, quit? Or as important is long-term wellness care important for developing wellness? Of course, we recommend that to all of our patients. That chiropractic is a lifestyle. You want to do it for the rest of your life. I've been getting adjusted 35 years. And here are some of the benefits for seniors. The results are, and by the way, Medicare has done a lot of these studies as well. This is one in JMPT. 60% fewer hospitals, 62% less outpatient surgeries, 85% less pharmaceutical costs. How cool is that? Many of you guys have been here 10, 20, 25 years, can attest to that. Some of you guys are seniors. You can attest to that. Some of you guys came in on 10 medications, you're on 0. So you help that number right there, that percentage. Medicare just did another research study. They showed, and they have all this amazing data because it's so big in their database. What they showed is they tracked Medicare patients under chiropractic care, and then they watched them as they moved to different cities or states. And then they looked at the ones who got back under chiropractic care and the ones that never found a chiropractor. How cool is that? And then they dissected that information, and they did all kinds of stats, but of course, kind of the take-home message there is those people who got back under care were, of course, significantly healthier and also showed these numbers as well. Really neat, a government study. Here's another one. Does anybody here, other than Carol, know what these are called at the end of shoelaces? Does anybody? It's a little Jeopardy quiz question. Yes. Yes, they're called aglets. Okay, so these are called aglets. Have you guys ever heard of telomeres? Okay, so this is a study, 2017, done by a bunch of scientists and clinicians that I know. By the way, they do chiropractic biophysics, which is the technique that we do here, the corrective or restorative technique. And they did a study showing, I'll kind of just give the gist of it, and then you can, if you want to dive deeper, you can go online and get the slides. But what it showed is through chiropractic care, there was lengthening of the telomeres. The telomeres are like aglets at the end of the chromosomes that hold the DNA and the chromosomes together. And the longer they are, the longer you're going to live. As if they shorten or shorten too fast, your lifespan is kind of unraveling. Okay? And so if they lengthen, that means you're going to live, it's extending your life. Chiropractic was actually extending the lives of these patients under care. How cool is that? Cool. So there's the research. You can fact check it. It's really cool stuff. So that's another thing I wish I would hear, but I never have heard that. Someone walking through the door, I'm here to have my telomeres lengthened. I just want to make sure I'm at the right place. You guys do that technique here? And when that person asks that, person finally comes through the door, I'll say, well, no, believe it or not, we do lengthen telomeres here. So it's all about the aglets. Number 4, sleep. So if you're not getting enough rest, then your cortisol is going to go up. You're going to get very stressed. Cortisol in elevated amounts causes damage. In normal amounts, it controls blood sugar. It controls your heart rate. It manages your immune response. It does a lot of very important things. But if you don't get enough sleep, you're going to stress the body out. And cortisol is going to go up to abnormal amounts. And cortisol, number 1, there's a part of the brain called the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is the memory center. And it's a magnet for cortisol. And cortisol tends to damage the memory center of the hippocampus. Cortisol does a lot of negative things in the body. If you came to the hormone workshop, you know this. There are 50-plus hormones that are secreted or controlled by the pituitary. Cortisol is the granddaddy of them all. And if cortisol is elevated chronically because of stress or deficiency of sleep causing stress, then cortisol is going to completely throw off balance the other 50-plus hormones. It has the most powerful effect in the body out of all of the hormones, and sleep will damage or lack of sleep will damage that cortisol balance. There are ways to measure it. We do it with the Dutch test, blood, urine, saliva. The hypothalamus. This is the area of the brain that determines whether something is fight or flight or relaxatory, sympathetic or parasympathetic. That's the part of the brain that determines it. When you are sleep deprived, are you better at handling stress or not as good? Not as good. I mean, like little things could set you off. You're just not right. Your memory goes. Just things are just really off when you're not sleeping restfully. It's really important to dial in what's called sleep hygiene. So the right environment. My bedroom, you want cave-like darkness. I can't sleep without a fan, white noise. Any light in your room, it's going to go right through your eyelids when they're closed. So you got to make sure it's set up properly so you can get deep sleep. Ideally, 70 degrees or colder. I'd rather have 78. My wife wants 68. So I lose, and I got to sleep with 3 layers and a hoodie. But I can tell you what, I sleep very deeply when it's really cold in the room. But I just got to bundle up a little bit. I'm not a cold guy. But nonetheless, get that sleep hygiene in place. I'll say something fast with this. Being lean is not overrated. It's really important. You want to get the body lean. People who stay lean, they live longer. You have less pressure on the joints. Also, carrying around the excess fat. This is an MRI imaging. A couple things. One, you're going to see the enlargement of the liver because fat carries around a lot of toxicity. So the liver's got to grow. It's got to get bigger to process the toxicity. But this fat also secretes a massive amount of inflammatory cytokine in the way of what's called interleukin 1 beta. That interleukin 1 beta leaves the fat, goes up into the brain, and inflames the brain. So doing what you can to get your body mass index definitely under 35, which is clinically obese, ideally under 30. 70% of the population is overweight. 30, I think it's actually closer to 40% now considered obese. So it's really important for the joints, for the biochemistry of the body. A lot of fat produces a lot of excess inflammatory molecules, not good for the brain or the body. For women, something you want to know statistically, a body mass index over 30, your risk of developing endometrial, uterine, or ovarian cancer goes up by 600%. How much? All cancers explode, every major disease. So it's really important to do what you can to get that body mass index down to an ideal place. So, are you guys learning anything tonight? Okay, good. Stick around for a little bit longer. We're going to take this short commercial break to move our bodies for 20 seconds. Everybody up. Then we're going to sit down, and then we're going to get through the rest. And we got some great. We got to finish up with the last 5. All right. So, all you got to do is move your arms and legs. We'll be finishing up here soon. For 20 seconds, go. Do your best, guys. If your joints feel old, you don't have to move. Move, 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 move. You guys are doing a great job staying awake tonight. Thank you.
Doing a great job keeping it.
Woo! All right, guys. Okay, one quick takeaway so far. One quick takeaway. Attitude. Great, right? Attitude determines your altitude.
Some people can't get out of the basement.
That's right. That's good.
If you're in Florida, you're in trouble.
That's good.
It's not a question, I just want to make, well, I'm going to ask a question, I suppose. That slide you had up there about Medicare with all of those good things that chiropractic does. How come Medicare doesn't cover chiropractic? Yeah, obvious.
Well, hopefully the more studies they do, things will change because of those. Right? That's a great question.
I mean, if they're doing the study and seeing that,
It's just the system that's hard to change. It doesn't make any sense, right? No. Yeah. So they have the information. Hopefully it'll change sooner than later. But those big bureaucratic. You guys, the seniors in here, know the benefits or are reaping the benefits. But this system, to turn this thing around, even with them having the data, it'll take years. And the pharmaceutical lobbyists, right? Yep. So one of the ways to get the body lean, a lot of patients ask me the simplest way. Here's a simple thing you can do. A lot of people struggling or hitting plateaus weight-wise. Yeah, we have a weight loss program here, but I'm going to give you one of the most important things, if not the most important thing you can do during the day in terms of movement. After you eat your dinner, move. Go for a walk. Do something. Get activity going because your body's got to metabolize what you just put in. So your weight is, you're going to always struggle if you become sedentary right after your last meal of the day. So you got to get moving, got to get outside, especially with all the light. Yes?
is sufficient to go on your body machine?
Sure, that counts. Absolutely. So intermittent fasting is not fasting for a day, 2, 3. It's a time-restricted eating window, finding a window whether you're eating from 10 to 6. Maybe there's 8 hours of eating or 10 hours of eating, but you're giving your body a good 12, 14 hours of downtime so the insulin, blood sugar, everything can kind of relax. The body has reserved energy to heal and repair, not going into digestion, which requires a huge amount of energy And not only that, but during the time that you're not eating, your blood sugar is coming down. Your body is metabolizing and drawing that sugar out of the blood into the cells to be used. Also, it gives your body an opportunity to go through what's called autophagy, shedding, eliminating old cells, pathogenic cells. So there are three major activities you can do to stimulate what's called autophagy, getting rid of the bad old cells, cancer cells, whatever needs to go. One is the time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about exercise, the right kind of exercise to produce that, and sauna. Those three have the most scientific research behind them. And then there are three supplements which have the most science behind them in regards to stimulating the kicking out or shedding of old cells and the renewal of cells, or stimulating of stem cells to produce new and vibrant cells in the body. So we'll talk about those. Quercetin, green tea, curcumin, those are proven to stimulate autophagy, stem cell stimulation. Time-restricted eating is one of the most powerful, easiest interventions for restoring metabolic flexibility and optimizing your energy production. That's what mitochondrial function is. That's where the energy is produced, which is key for recovery from any illness or disease. You need energy to recover, to repair. Women who switch to an optimal diet, which I'm going to show you on the next slide, at age 60 live an additional, how long, guys? 8 years. Men, 8.8. If a 20-year-old makes the changes, 10.7, 13, this gets bigger. The earlier you make the changes, the earlier you live a healthier lifestyle. If changes made at 80, you still get a little bit right there. Is it worth it to try to do better? At 80, of course it is, right? So there's this science behind it. So there is the elevation house of health. Number 6, the diet component. Like I said, everybody's a little different. That's why we recommend food allergy testing, gut testing. Sometimes there are bigger challenges than just like plug and play. That person needs a little more individual attention. But for the most part, the general framework guideline, you have all the great veggies, fruits, the low-sugar fruits, the berries. Down here, lemons, limes, grapefruits, tomatoes, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, all these different types of berries, low sugar. They bring in fiber, antioxidants to keep inflammation down, to keep the bowels moving, to get toxicity out of your body, keep your bowels moving regularly, 1, 2, 3 times per day. You got all the good fats in the nuts here, so greens, good fats for the brain. Greens, lots of vitamins, minerals in there as well. Nuts, seeds, vegetables, nuts and seeds in their whole forms, ideally. The easiest way to digest them if you water soak them. And then you have up here the roof, the protein. Of course, protein's important, but not being overloaded with protein. It's not a good thing. You guys understand that, right? Like eating like nose to tail is not a good thing. The carnivore, keto, I'm not big fans of keto. I'm not a big fan of keto. Okay? Maybe for some temporarily to get their body right or maybe balanced for a short time, but long term, it's damaging to the body, keto. And that is a scientific fact. Damaging for the body and the brain. The body needs sugar, the brain needs sugar, but good sugars. All these good fruits and vegetables, you'll get sugar out of this good stuff, not out of processed, refined, packaged, boxed garbage. Does that make sense? Right? So it's important to understand that this is a general framework, but as time goes on, sometimes patients need a more customized approach. So you have wild game, grass-fed meats. Anybody here a fan of wild game, grass-fed meats? I am. We got a few. So you got a good, clean, wild game, yogurt, milk, farm-raised chicken, eggs, raw cheese. You can go over to their farms. On the table over there, the Horsemeyer Farm and Garden. They get all on Friday mornings. They have from, what's the name of the farm? The farm in they get it from the farm in New Smyrna Beach. But, yes, thank you. But the Horsemeyer Farm and Garden, they have all their dairy that's dropped off there Friday morning. And you can get the raw cheeses, you can get the eggs, you can get the yogurt, you can get the milk, you can get all the butter, all that stuff over there. So Horsemeyer Farm and Garden is in Sanford on First Street. Right as you go toward the water, it's the old Sanford Herald building. So again, all this is the general framework right there. Feed that to your kids or yourself if you don't like your kids or yourself. Right? Keeley Farms. Keeley Farms is the farm out in New Smyrna Beach. Anybody ever hear that before? Yeah, Keeley Farms, yep. So it's right when you get off I-4, you go down 44 a little bit. And I think it's down a little bit, make a left to go north up one of the roads there. So this stuff right here, do you ever wonder how like you can toast it and it does like melt all over the toaster? Anybody ever wonder about that one? So these are hydrogenated fats. So when you eat them, your kids eat them, what happens to their arteries? That's why 70% of all 12-year-olds already have signs of plaquing in their arteries because of this garbage. So trans fats, margarine, synthetic butters, country crock, stay away. Margarine, all these are trans fats. It's like eating plastic and clogging up your arteries. I'm sorry, did you have some of yours?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about drinking water.
Yep.
How much water a day do you have to drink?
About half the body weight in water. Yep. Yep.
Is distilled water better?
It is. With electrolytes, so. And we'll talk about that in a moment, yep. Hydrogen and partially hydrogenated oils. When you can, you want to read labels. Is that a good idea? Right? Okay, so look for these words in there. If you see cottonseed soybean, they are hydrogenated. Okay? The only way they can stay on the shelf is they have to be hydrogenated for shelf life. So rancid vegetables, corn, canola, if possible, you want to stay away from these. It's not a game of perfect. You're going to end up eating them because they're everywhere, especially if you eat out. But you got to be careful because they inflame. These are omega-6 oils, not omega-3, DHA and EPA. They're omega-6, which are highly inflammatory for the body and the brain. And they age your body and the brain very quickly. This is another research article, final determination regarding partially hydrogenated oils, removing trans fats. They are not considered generally safe, generally recognized as safe. Okay? So what this is talking about is simply how dangerous, how wrong they are, and that they need to be taken out of the food supply. Number 7, human growth hormone is the fountain of youth. That's what's released primarily with resistance training. Even if you just do it once per week, lifting weights is crucial. I get it. For a lot of patients, most of the patients I talk to, they're like, ain't doing it. I'm not interested in lifting weights. A lot of patients don't want to do it. But by the way, walking is one of the most underrated forms of exercise. So I recommend everybody do that. Walking is phenomenal benefits, but to put the muscle, keep the muscle on at least one day per week with weights, resistance training, with a trainer, a personal trainer, ideally, someone who can bring you through the movements, but sedentary kills. Shortens your life. If you fall, number 1 cause of death, if you have a good amount of muscle mass on your body, instead of breaking, you may bounce, right? It's a little better, right? You bounce, see? Got a lot of muscle mass over there. He's bounced a couple of times. So research shows that older adults that engage in consistent exercise programs reduce their risk of developing age-related dementia. So when you lift weights primarily, you stimulate something in your brain called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It is miracle growth for your brain cells. So the other way you can do it, the other way you can get that released in the beneficial hormones is the rapid high-intensity interval training, where you go 20, 30 seconds real hard, get your heart rate up, kind of burst it, and then you relax. Maybe do 3 of those, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Or you can do what my trainer does when I meet him on Fridays. I do resistance training, but he goes at a rapid pace. I do 30 seconds on, a really fast lifting, 30 seconds off. So I'm getting the resistance training and I'm getting the cardiovascular training as well. But again, exercise, best time in the morning. I find if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I'm not going to do it. With the exception of later on in the day after my last meal, I still get out and move. It's just not a formal workout. So again, raises all of the great stuff, testosterone, growth hormone. This is the T.H. Chan School of Public Health. That's at Harvard. Massive study, 34 years, 120,000 participants. They looked at questionnaires regarding diet, physical activity, body weight, smoking, and alcohol consumption. The ones who had these habits, if they had the habits at age 50, the alcohol consumption, when they answered back the questionnaire, like these people, like what would be kind of like in that ideal framework, what they're talking about here, a beer or a glass of wine every day. Nothing really more than that. So most of the questionnaires, if it was alcohol-based, it came in at that point. 14 years for women, 12 years for men, if they were really working on optimizing these things, of course not smoking, not optimizing the amount of cigarettes you're smoking, but all the things we talked about already. So there it is. Is that amazing or what? And that's a big chunk of life right there, right? This is lifestyle. By the way, none of those Star Trek technologies that I showed you guys earlier have proven yet to extend life this much, just through lifestyle. And by the way, chiropractic adjustments are not even up there. How about that one? Sorry, I was so loud. I'll blow someone's eardrum out. But I get excited about chiropractic. It's not even up there. So add that into the mix. Let's start stacking more into that. Supplements. They didn't question the well, which supplements are you taking? Are you taking curcumin? Are you doing a protein shake every day? Or like, they didn't even ask them about that stuff necessarily. Number 8, almost finished. Detox, sauna, cleanse and detoxify. If it got into your system, it can get out. Better out than in. Sauna creates, you're inducing an artificial fever, which is going to be primarily with far infrared, not your classical steam sauna, but far infrared radiation will induce a fever, which will kill out pathogens, viruses, heavy metals getting out of the body, things that should not be there. Right now, there's a lot of garbage in our environment. Would you guys agree? Over 80,000 chemicals in the food, air, water that we eat, drink, and breathe. 4 billion prescriptions written every year. 10,000 chemicals in packaging and storing our food, and 3,000 laced into our food. Preservatives, additives, colorings, flavorings, F&D, Blue Lake number 5, like all these weird sounding things in our food. Living in the state of Florida, on average, a 65-year-old, on average, or it's taking an average of 13 medications. A 65-year-old living in the state of Florida, 13 medications. That's the average. Some taking a lot more, some taking a lot less, some taking none. My dad's taking none at 83, zero. So, yep.
Does the metals, do they get taken out by the infrared?
They will come out. They will come out. It just depends upon how much you got in, how long it's going to take. But it's something, this is a regular activity that you want to be doing. We have a sauna blanket in here that we use as part of our weight loss program. So we have the blanket here, and then I have a walk-in at home, and over the course of a week, I clock about at least a minimum 2 hours in there. And I get a lot of stuff done in there as well. I multitask and bring stuff in there. But you got to get garbage out while you do it. When I got out, super hydrating, and I got the elements. Electrolytes, so getting good hydration in, half my body weight in ounces per day, getting electrolytes in. The best water to drink would be ideally distilled with electrolytes being put into the water. If you don't do that, then the best home unit to get would be reverse osmosis. So you're getting stuff out, then you're putting good stuff back in. Hydration and electrolytes, the element electrolytes are great. I had a packet of that when I came out of the sauna this morning. Signs that you're toxic, brain fog, depression, your joints are aching you. Okay, a lot of toxicity could be deposited there. Memory challenges, allergies, sinus, poor sleep. Here's another one. 2022, July, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, concluded the annual death toll from medical errors could be as high as 440,000 and possibly more because of lack of reporting, making it still what? This is the most conservative report that I can find. I don't like to use too big of numbers or make sure like I vet them. Some of the numbers I've seen is up to 1 million. Okay, but this one right here is completely substantiated. Is that a problem? What do you think? Where our medical system being the third leading cause of death. Try to refute that one. I tell patients are like, no way. I'm like, all right, if you want to refute that, go home and look it up. Go to Dr. Google. You'll find this. Even with the search engines being controlled by the medical profession, you'll still find this. Okay? So again, we know that you cannot poison your body back into health. We got a ton of chemicals. And on top of that, 13 medications going in that are also poisoning you. So part of our journey out of base camp, out of the second base camp, to summit. It should be, if you are here tonight, you took the time to come sit, learn. And I commend you for this, for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the goals should be minimizing the amount of medications or possibly eliminating them all, if that's possible, by way of having a discussion with your doctors. A lot of patients say to me, well, I'm not talking to my doctor. They won't listen to me. I'm going to do it anyway. I can't control that, right? But I cannot give you direct medical intervention. That's not part of my licensing. But it should be part of your goal. If you want to achieve the highest level of vitality, again, either minimize, maybe you can't get off some of the medications you're on, or strive towards, if possible, eliminating. All drugs are toxic in the long run. Stop poisoning yourself. You can't poison yourself back in health. At least stop using Teflon. At least stop using that. You don't believe me? Go out, buy a canary, hang the cage in the kitchen, cook with Teflon. See how long that canary lives. There was a reason they used to bring him into the coal mines. You guys know why, right? Put it next to a Teflon pot or pan while you're cooking with it. Watch what happens with the canary. Hint, hint, not going to live very long, okay? So don't put it in your body. All this stuff, makeup, you got to watch out for makeup. That's a big one because the skin is the largest organ in the body. It's absorbing all of the garbage. So the last one we're going to talk about, or I guess actually second to last, supplementation. You have to have a foundation, a base of nutrition coming in, because no matter how good you eat, clean, organic, whatever it may be, we know one thing, at least about the soil, it's depleted. Mineralization is highly depleted. It's stripped out of a lot of the good nutrition. So if there was one, if I was stuck on a deserted island somewhere in the South Pacific, there's like a helicopter flew by, I'd been there a couple months, and they said, you got one choice, one supplement you got, what do you want? So throw down the complete clean, I'm good, right? This would be my go-to. This right here is about 20 supplements in one. And for many of you guys, even off our shelf, we're taking curcumin, some of you taking N-acetylcysteine, some of you guys are taking turmeric, some of you guys are taking different antioxidants, green tea. You can take 10 supplements and consolidate it into one. This is a shake. If you like drinking shakes, it makes it very easy. This is a multivitamin mineral. This is my liquid lunch every day. This is what I have, sometimes with frozen fruit, or I throw something in there, sometimes with oat milk, different types of milk, hemp milk. Multivitamin, multi-mineral. Then you have other things. By the way, you have a complete, you can't see it on here, but you have a complete profile of amino acids. So it's a protein replacement. You get your protein for the day. Very important to maintain muscle mass as you age. You have, of course, the thing that a lot of people want to know about, collagen. You have glycine, proline, zinc, and vitamin C in there, which actually come together when you digest them to make collagen for bones and skin, nails, to help with the aging process. You also have in here the three major amino acids that make glutathione: glycine, lysine, and glutamine. They come together when you digest them to make the master antioxidant. Come along here, pomegranate for the heart, betaine anhydrous, trimethylglycine cleans the liver. You got multiple liver cleansers in here, and acetylcysteine. I think that supplement alone on the shelf is, I don't know, 30, 40, 50. I don't check the prices regularly there, but just that one alone in here. Ginger, anti-inflammatory. MSM for the joints, anti-inflammatory. All of these things. Green tea stimulates autophagy. It actually detoxifies the brain. So you have some really important specialty supplements in here that are not typically found really in any shake. You also have quercetin in here as well. Quercetin is antiviral. It's an antipathogen, and it also stimulates autophagy, killing off the dead old cells.
Doesn't it fight off inflammation?
Fights off inflammation as well. So the big ones in here are curcumin, the quercetin, and the green tea. Those are the big ones that are the anti-aging supplements or nutrients, which actually, again, stimulate autophagy, stem cell, brain health, anti-inflammation in the brain and the body. So this is a shake like no other. If you are okay with taking shakes, vanilla or chocolate, it's got a ton of in here. It's a great post-workout shake as well. If you don't like doing shakes, then the equivalent of that is a multivitamin. By the way, in here, you also have, up here it's actually cut off on this one, but you also have plant-based versions of the omega oils as well. So these are caps. So if you don't want to do a shake, you can do a multivitamin, multimineral, which this is just foundational nutrition because you're not going to get it out of the soil. You have the EPA, the fish oil is essential. So these are literally the essentials right here. So if you're not like a big supplement person, you don't really want to go down that road, at a bare minimum, multivitamin, multimineral, the EPA, the omega-3 anti-inflammatory fish oil, and of course, what do we got over there? The vitamin D. And the ideal scenario is if you're deficient, get you up to sufficiency, 80 to 100, and then just kind of dial in a maintenance dosage of vitamin D, which is anywhere between 2,500 to 5,000, typically for most. Having your vitamin D level at the right level radically reduces all disease development, especially if you hit the sweet spot of 80 to 100. If you've not gotten that test yet in here, we'll do it for you. So here's where we finish. You guys have been amazing. Your brains absorbed a lot. And guess what? We're getting ready to summit. Are you guys excited? What? Oh, that was like 2 people up here. You guys excited? One more time. Okay. All right. So, constant, never-ending improvement. 1 in 10 people over the age of 65 diagnosed with Alzheimer's. 1 in 2 over 85 diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Okay. So, what this showed is a 2012 report from the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics found that people with a bachelor's degree or higher live about 9 times longer, or I'm sorry, not 9, 9 years longer than people who don't graduate high school. Okay. Maybe 9 times. I don't know. Maybe the report come in. So 9 years longer. Probably have a lot less Alzheimer's and whatnot. So what does that mean? If you don't have a bachelor's degree or higher, then there's no hope for you. No, I'm just kidding. It means this. What's that?
Have more than 1 bachelor, 2 bachelors.
Okay, there you go. So you're going to live like 18 years, right? What happens if you have 2 bachelor's degrees? Okay, it means this. There is hope for you because you're going through a learning institution. You're going through the Elevation Health Learning University. And when you get done with it, you get a cap, gown, and I confer upon you a PhD in health knowledge. So you will possess encyclopedic knowledge. Ask anybody who's been here 10, 20, 30 years. They got these master classes mastered, and they're coming back to hone and refine and understand what's on the horizon. I always renew them and bring new data. That's why patients keep coming back. But you will get that knowledge that means something, because most degrees today from most universities today are meaningless, right? Most of the people getting out of college today, they're going to come out of college with tent building skills. That's what they're going to know how to do. And I don't care if I just offended anybody. That's basically what they're learning in college today, how to pitch tents. Okay? So you guys are getting real applicable knowledge, real life knowledge that is going to confer probably a lot more than 9 years onto your lifespan. How does that sound? Deal? Good? You guys in? More master classes? Come on back. Okay. So here's our plan. We have summited. We've gotten to the top. We made it. Probably went a little longer than we normally go, but you guys have been troopers. So here, number 1, envision. Big why. How are we going to get up there? We got to have a crystal clear vision. Yes? A big why. Take what you wrote, take what you recorded tonight, put it where you can see it, where you're going to look at it. Make sure it's in front of you. Big why, purpose for God, family, and friends. Design. You got to know where you're going. The design starts when you walk through the door as a chiropractic patient. We have to see your spine, films, x-rays of your spine, of your bones, scans, heart rate variability, thermal, EMG, and then regularly looking at those. Maybe doing blood work, sitting down with me. When you guys get blood work, make sure you get me a copy of it so I can look at it, help guide you, and just be that Sherpa for you, even if you're going over it with your medical doctors. So again, customizing a plan, whether it's chiropractic or on the nutrition, blood work side of things, wellness and weight loss. Diversify. Try to, little by little, initiate all 10 strategies. Yes? You already nailed 1, constant and never-ending improvement. You're doing it tonight, right? You're getting armed, equipped, and dangerous. Armed and dangerous. And then invest. Regular adjustments, monthly master classes. Come to all of them if you can. Many of you guys are already. But are you glad you came tonight? Yes? Can I see you raise your hands? Cool. So it's been awesome, right? Learning, growing. You guys, some of you guys had to make a big sacrifice to get here. There are a lot of family, friends, maybe children, babies. So you had to make all kinds of arrangements to get here tonight. So I salute you on the highest level for making the time, some of you guys every month, in coming and learning things that are important. Yes? Weekly emails, newsletters. If you're not on our email list, let us know. If you're not getting our postal newsletters that are sent out every month, you should. If you're an active patient, make sure that we have the correct address, because every month I write a 4-page newsletter and it should be dropping into your mailbox monthly. Let us know if you've not gotten those. And then the weekly posts and lives in My Family, My Mission. We have close to 2,000 people in there. That's our private group. If you're not in there yet, get in there, because I post in a lot of different places, but there are certain things that I only post in that group. And then I do a live every Wednesday where Carol over here, she helps me, Carol Copeland, she helps me just all week long. We are calling like all of the health topics that are coming out, all of the things that are in the news regarding health and wellness, and we just distill it down for that hour, and I go through all the headlines and kind of let you guys know in a very tight half-hour format what's happening in healthcare, what's out there in the media, what's been published that week. So plug into that. All you got to do is in Facebook type in My Family, My Mission for groups. Thanks for coming, guys. I love and appreciate you.
Keep families healthy.